What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be throwing on the brake rotors and pads on the STI. When I brought that thing home, they were shaking like crazy, so definitely time for some new rotors for sure. But we got pads, rotors, and ready to throw them on. So I'm just going to take you guys along with me, and we'll get this done together. It's a fairly simple job. The hardest part's the rear rotors to get off. Sometimes they can be a pain with the e-brake, but I'll show you guys what I do, and hopefully it helps. Let's jump right into it. So first off, let's jack up the car. I normally jack it up right on the little spot right in front of the door. You can jack it up right on that. Just gonna take an impact, take these lug nuts off real quick. Keep these off to the side, don't lose any of them. Alright, pop this wheel off. So as you guys can see all the lines in the rotors. Yeah, this thing's pretty smoked. So we're going to be changing these out as well as the pads, and we'll be good to go. So these Brembos are actually pretty easy. There's two little clips here. You pull these clips out, this back retaining spring comes out, and then you can pull the pads right out. Just grab yourself some needle nose, hook onto that little clip, pull them right out. Same for the bottom. Pull it right out. I like to just take a little punch with a rubber mallet and just pop these little pins out. It's one on top, one on bottom. Once you have them out of their little holes, you can work with them a little bit from the back side. Just pop them right out, just like that. And then this little thing comes off. So now go ahead, take your brake reservoir cap off, and that will allow you to freely adjust these pistons. Just take a screwdriver, kind of work on the pad a little bit, and you can pry it right out of there. Just like that. Now, while the old rotor's still in there, I like to take a screwdriver and just pry the pistons back a little bit. That way it just makes it easier when you get your new pads, and they should go right in. Same thing, just pry back the pistons a little bit, make it a little bit easier on yourself when you go to put the new pads in. So now in the back of the rotor, on the caliper bracket, there are two 19mm bolts. So I got a 19mm socket. Just gonna go ahead and pop those bolts off. They can be a little tight. Just work with them for a minute. They should come off. It's the top one, and there's one right down at the bottom. Little trick there, you step on it, and she'll break loose. Alright, so once you have all the bolts out, I just pull the caliper off, tuck it back on the control arm. That way you don't have to, tie it up. Now your rotor should be free, so if anything, just tap on it a few times. Should come off here. So if those were being a real pain like mine just was, like you just saw, I just took a big old crowbar, hit it a few times, she'll break loose. Sometimes they're a pain in the butt. I don't know why, but just bang on it with a mallet, or I don't have a big sledgehammer, so I just use that metal crowbar. She'll break loose. If you're replacing them anyways, I don't care if I damage them, so yeah. Now if you notice, there's two holes. You got one here, one on the other side over there. Essentially a screw can fit into those and help push the rotor off. I don't have a screw to fit that, so I just use the crowbar and it comes right off. So now what I like to do is just take a little wire brush, clean up the hub a little bit, get some of that rust and residue off there. Another thing I like to do, take the caliper while it's off and just clean it up a little bit. So I just take a bolt, kind of mount it on there, spray some cleaner on there, just dust her off. Try not to get any of the cleaner on the inside, just keep it on the outside, but spray it on the rag a little bit, just clean her up. Now we can open up our new rotor. So now I just take some brake clean off the rotor, both sides, make sure there's no residue on there, and then we can throw it on the car. Wipe it off nice and good. Don't let your fingers touch the rotor either. Just want to keep it super clean after you put the brake cleaner on it. Flip it over, do the same thing on this side. So being careful not to touch the braking surface on the rotor. Mount this back up, just like so. Another trick I like to do, take some lug nuts, put it on the rotor, and that way it can't slide around when you're trying to mount the caliper back up. Then you take the caliper, slide it on there. Alright, let's tighten those up a little bit. So now we're ready to mount the pads. Open them up. Now just be really careful not to touch the braking surface. And take some of our Be Quiet Brembo stuff. So I normally put this stuff right around the edges that take contact from the caliper. Just kind of smurf it around here a little bit. Just like that. Be careful not to get it on the braking surface. If you do, just wipe it off a little bit. As you can see, I got a little bit right on the edge, so just wipe that off. And now we can do the same thing for the other pad. A little bit on the back where the piston makes contact, and then a little bit on the sides. Just a little dab, nothing crazy. And then I do a little bit up by the holes. Just like that. Now we can go install this pad. So I already have the back pad in. So what I'm going to do before I put this one in, just spread these pistons apart as far as possible. Now we can go ahead and slide this pad in. Take our little pins, slide them through. Then we can take our clip, put that in there. And then should be able to take a hammer or something. Once you have your little pin in, take your retaining clip. And you can push that right back onto that clip. I'll do the same thing for the bottom. Now your pads are in. Now you're going to go ahead and tighten up the bolts on the back of the caliper. So now I'm going to take a torque wrench, set it to 60 foot-pounds, and tighten up these caliper bolts. That's it. Take your lug nuts back off the rotor. Take our impact, tighten these up. Now we can lower the car. Take your torque wrench again, 75 foot-pounds, and tighten these lug nuts down. In a crisscross pattern. Go over them one more time. That's it. So the rears are essentially the same. The only differences is the caliper bolt is an 18 mil rather than 19 mil, and the hardest part comes taking the rotor off. Sometimes it can be a real pain because it has the e-brake, drum brake kind of thing inside of it. So when I get to that point, I'll resume the video and show you guys how to get that off. Alright guys, so behind this little rubber cover, you have access to the e-brake. Now the e-brake's behind here, and if you go all the way to the bottom, there's actually a little gear that you can turn in that hole, which, yeah, so down here there's a little gear you can turn, and on the other side I turned it upwards to kind of release the drum brake mechanism. Not sure if it did anything or not, and then I rotated it back to re-expand it to where it came from. Like I said, not sure if it did anything, so I'm going to take a crowbar, beat on this a little bit. If it comes off, comes off. If not, I will adjust that little gear like I did last time, and hopefully it'll come off then. Alright, this thing ain't budging, so what we're gonna do, come down here to the bottom. You can kind of see in there, there's a little gear. So what you're gonna do, I'll show you. So I just take the little screwdriver onto that gear and just rotate it upwards. So I'm just putting it in, going like this until it's all the way backed out. Oh. So as you guys can see, that thing is a real biatch to get off. I literally destroyed the thing with the hammer, but it doesn't matter because I got a new one. Here's that e-brake drum mechanism. So looking at this from the bottom, you can see that little gear on that. That's where you're gonna have to turn. So now that it's off, I'm gonna turn it the opposite way and get it back to where it was. But yeah, just take some time, beat on it forever, and it should come off, hopefully. There's nothing else holding it on. It's just this e-brake thing that it kind of, once it sits on there a while, it kind of gets stuck, creates a groove, and it makes it a real pain in the butt to get off. But as you can see, beating on it enough, I mean, you can see how much I beat on that thing. She'll come off, and yeah, I mean, wish you the best of luck. If it doesn't, you might have to find some screws to fit in these holes to help pull it off, but other than that, I think you guys should be all good. But I'm gonna get the new rotor mounted up on here once I get this back to where it was. And yeah, other than that, it's pretty much the same. The only difference with the caliper bolts, they're an 18 mil rather than 19 mil, and they get torqued to 40 foot-pounds rather than 60 foot-pounds. But the rest of it is all the same. So I'm gonna go finish this side up. I'll do the other side, get those two front and rear done, and we should be good. So see you guys in a bit. Alright, brakes are in. We should be good to go. Like I said, on the rears, might be a little difficult, but just mess with it, should come off. I gave myself a little boo-boo. Kind of slipped my wrist a little bit, but oh well. Just happy the brakes are in. So now the braking procedure for Brembos, they recommend like 60 mile an hour to 30 mile an hour runs, approximately like 30 times, I think. And then like some cooling time. Obviously I have the front bumper off right now because I'm about to repair it. So I think I might just go up and down our road a few times, like maybe 5 times, just to like kind of pre-brake them in, get them, make sure they're working properly. Same thing with the e-brakes, those little gears in the back. I just want to make sure they're adjusted properly. And if we have to make any adjustments, we'll make them. But let's fire this thing up, take it up and down the road a few times, make sure we're good, and then we'll park her. So let's get it. Took the STI on a little rip, and we got our first little bit of data on the little access port here. So weren't really going full rip, but still pushing 16 pounds, so I'm happy with that. And you know, no knock, dam looks good, AFR looks good, everything looks good, so can't be any more happy about that. We just did we did a few little pulls, nothing crazy, just a few 60 to 30s, probably 7 times, if that, just to, you know, kind of break in the brakes a little bit. But once we get the front end back together, the timing belt done, we'll definitely break in the brakes the rest of the way, and we'll be good to go. So yeah, if this video helped you guys, drop a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you guys want to do. And yeah, I'm stoked to get on with the rest of the series. Have a lot of plans for this car, and yeah, just takes time. But appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Hey, one more thing. Just realized we were in not sport sharp for that little rip, so who knows? Could push more boost than that. I know it does because we weren't even at full rip, but doesn't really affect me much. We're gonna be putting more power in that car, so yeah. But you know, if we put it in sport sharp, you know, add 40 psi more boost, and that's about where we're sitting. Huh? You don't think it's 40 pounds? 70 pounds? All right, 70 pounds more boost. That's where we're at. So we're pushing 86 pounds? Yeah? All right, 86 pounds it is. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.